My family don't see me more, that's growing up. And now they're calling me C4, I'm blowing up. So if we sitting on seesaws, we going up. Some people get going, but I love it when the going's tough. Too young to know enough, too old to play the part, too cool for showing up, too dumb to say what's smart. So I'm a substitute, waiting for the game to start. But I ain't trying to get played like change your heart. Chuck Woolery, I host and rip the stage apart. And hopefully you're willing to admit that I have made my mark. And may I park and find me another ride. I'm letting Florence tell you how I feel inside.
Pugs are the names for dogs, like Doggo. Didn't you have that?
That's slang for dogs.
In 3, 2, 1. This is the Just Go With It podcast. Today I will be speaking with Jonathan Martin, a.k.a. the man with the plan.
They call me the Shogun.
The Shogun Rua. That's actually a UFC guy, Shogun Rua. And Tyler Morgan. He is a CEO of a company.
That is true.
It is, I believe it was Tyler Morgan Productions, and now
Yes, it was.
and now it's just
Morgan Productions.
Just Morgan Productions because of some copyright issues and
Yeah.
marriage,
Yes, and mostly the second part, but yeah.
mostly marriage.
Yep.
But
Very glad to be here. John and I are sharing a microphone right now, and yeah, it's just really awkward. Felt like everyone should know that because we're very close to one another. I'm not into that. I think he is, though.
well, his shirt is like you can see his chest hair right now, so
That doesn't help.
it makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable, but
Well, it's made of a special type of netting. It's
Sort of a
it's all the
linen.
rage in Hollywood.
sort of a linen blend.
Well, it's actually silk.
Oh, I knew it looked comfortable. Not that I would ever wear it, but
Nah, you could pull it off for sure. You have to grow your chest hair out more, but
that's true. I don't have. Well, speaking of, I don't have any chest hair.
is it because you shave it or you
No,
don't
I'm
grow
just.
it?
I never. I was a premature baby, and I don't think I ever grew out of it. So I've just always been premature.
That's why your chest is so small.
Yeah, I think that's probably it. No, I wasn't premature. I don't think I was premature. If I was, I've never been told that. But yeah, today we were thinking about talking about technology and
Social media
social. Yeah, there you go. Social media. I knew I couldn't think of it. It's along the same lines.
and happiness.
Yeah, and how those commingle or don't commingle, or if one prevents the other. Like, is more social media bad than good?
I don't really know how much I'm even going to be able to bring into this conversation. I'm not good at social media, if I'm being honest.
You're not good
I mean,
at it?
I'm like 22 years old, but
You're only 22?
Yeah, I'm only 22, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
I don't check it very often at all. Like, I check Facebook, which I'm, pretty sure is just what the old people do. I mean, kids don't do that as much nowadays, I guess. I have Instagram, I have Snapchat, but people are always like, "Oh, did you see that on there?" And I'm like, "Oh, I haven't checked it in like a week." I mean, I was getting notifications. I got a new phone, and I forgot to sign into Instagram until
Wow.
just the other day.
How long have you
I
had?
just forgot.
How
'cause I
long have
don't
you had
check
the
it
new
enough.
phone?
A few days.
Okay, well, that's not too bad.
Not horrible.
Usually, if I get
Really,
a new phone, though, the first thing I set up is my Instagram, my
Facebook, all
Facebook,
that kind of stuff. Yeah.
whatever.
I mean, I did Facebook the same day, but Instagram was a little while later, and I only did it because people just kept asking me. Once I realized I'd forgotten, I wanted to see how long I could go without signing into it at
Yeah,
all.
a cleansing
but whenever
phase.
Whenever your wife is like, why haven't you, liked my new post? I'm like, oh, fine, I guess I'll log in.
So you sort of, yeah, it's a bit of a monk stage when you don't go for, 5 days. I read somewhere, I don't know if this is true. I read the other day where 90% of text messages are opened, which it sounds accurate to me. Like if I were to just take a guess, I might even shoot it.
Opened?
Are open. Every text message that's sent, 90% of them get opened. Which I don't know if that's, I guess you could call that social media.
I open 100% of my text messages
Do
at
you?
some point.
My mom doesn't. Like you can send her, I don't know. I look anytime she wants me to open, not open her phone, but anytime she wants to help with something, she usually calls me and is like, "Hey, something's jacked up my phone, or can you help me do whatever it is?" She's not very technologically savvy.
Well, even being technologically savvy, I probably skew that statistic quite a bit. Right now, like I said, I've had this phone for a few days. I have 25 unopened text messages.
See?
I think I had around 125 on my old phone before I went on and decided, you know what, I'll clean some of these off.
So are you just a total douchebag, or you just don't check?
Well, probably, but no, what it comes down to is like
if one said help, need help now.
I wouldn't have any earthly idea. No, what it is like I'll be in a conversation, or maybe I'll get like a random. I mean, I get weird text messages for some reason from like Subway. I don't know why.
Keep fresh.
I don't check those. But then if I have a conversation with somebody and it ends with just them saying like okay or whatever, that's the end of the conversation.
Just leave it closed.
If I see it on my home screen, I just swipe it away. I don't open it, and I don't think about it until I have like 125 of those instances, and I'm like, should probably clean this off now, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really bad about that.
So yeah, my mom, anytime she calls me to ask me to do something, it takes me like literally 2 seconds to do it. And then, I don't know. And then I'll look at her messages, and then I'll pause this because someone's coming in. Okay, we're back. I don't know where we were at. I think we were talking about
We're talking about your mom.
my mom. Yeah, so anything she asks me to do, when I go over there, it takes me 2 seconds. And she's like, I've been working on it for however long, and it's just something simple, like literally changing the you know how your toolbar at the bottom can get over to the side?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
your start button and all those buttons are on the left side of the screen instead of the bottom.
Yeah. Okay.
For some reason, like she literally every month something will come up to where it'll be moved to the side. Super simple. It takes me 2 seconds to drag over, and then it's done.
Yeah, I feel that. I mean, that's pretty much my job. I mean, I guess you could say that I do a lot of things at my job, but the thing that I like to say is my job.
That's the main thing?
To deal with people who don't know how to use technology, and I have to explain to it because I have to make sure we're changing things. We're getting a new website. We've got an app, that kind of stuff.
You got
so
an
like
app, really?
we're all focusing on pushing these new easier things, but for the people who've had them like set up for years, they don't know how to do it, and so that's essentially my job. Is people come up and they're like, so why doesn't this work anymore? And I'm like, it does. All you have to do is this. I deal with that all the time.
You should make
really
it
fun.
more like complicated, like you've been working on it for a while,
That's
and then
a
be
good
like, I know this is a little above you. It's probably best that I not explain it, but
That is a good idea.
you know.
Well, one reason for me, I don't know if this is the reason that's pushed me away from social media or whatever. I just, for me, it's hard to find things that I actually care about looking at. Like on my Instagram, I don't follow a lot of different comedy pages. Maybe I should. Maybe it'd entertain me more. But like,
It would help you.
for that, all I do is follow my friends, people I know, and it's like that on Facebook too. I only follow people I know, but on Facebook, you share stuff like that. So nothing that gets shared is actually about my friends or my people I knew from high school. It's not actually about their lives or what's going on. It's just the stuff that they thought was fun to
Cool.
share.
Right.
I don't know. Sometimes it interests me. Sometimes it doesn't. Like, I was trying to look up examples of BuzzFeed articles because that's
Yeah.
one thing
You don't like?
I can't. I mean, not all of them are bad. I guess whenever you have such a big company and you pretty much have to pump out at least one, if they probably do
Some of them's
multiple
going to be T-Rash.
lists a day.
Yeah.
Like, yes, exactly. But like, let's see. This is an example of one of their lists that they do. 35 people who just realized that Seth MacFarlane is actually hot.
Wow.
Like, I mean, that's cutting edge news right there.
Well, I mean,
like,
Was that New York Times, you
that's,
said?
yeah, actually it is. This is what
Who
I've been waiting to
cares?
hear about. See, I needed to know this is my point. I really need
Yeah,
to know.
well,
if
I mean,
he's
I was thinking about
35
that last night, and now that we've got confirmation, 25. We've got 25 reasons
Yeah.
as to why he
Well,
is.
It's people, so I guess they can add you to that list now
Oh.
too.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't know he was hot either.
Wow. I guess we should contact BuzzFeed about that.
Yeah, I haven't been in the loop about. Who'd you say it was?
Seth MacFarlane.
Oh, I don't think he's that funny. Maybe that's just
Or attractive.
or attractive. I mean, I know there's 25 reasons out there as to why he is, but they're probably all invalid. One thing I was thinking about, as I was thinking about this podcast and what we're going to talk about, is like, do you think Instagram and Facebook give a more accurate representation of the person or a less accurate representation of the person? Like, do you think when
More.
I would say more too, I think.
Yeah, it's something that's shown us how stupid people actually are.
Yeah.
That's fair. I think
That
it
was Tyler
does.
talking.
Yeah, that was me who said that. No, I think it's one of those things that it can show us both. I think it does show us more about the person, but not intentionally, because the way people post and stuff, their whole intention is to actually make themselves look better. They don't post whenever things are, tough, as far as like they've made a mistake or they've brought themselves into a tough situation. They post whenever they think they look good today. I mean, that's why you post. Your post may be about this or that, or you may skew it like, oh, I'm talking about this thing that happened at school, or oh, I'm talking about the Bible or whatever. But it's just a selfie showing off how good you look today.
Yeah,
the purpose is to make yourself look better to everyone
Exactly.
else. But of course, looking on that and knowing that's the purpose, if you look at it the right way, then it kind of shows you the opposite, I think, where you can see, oh, that's a little self-centered, I guess.
Which is revealing of who they are.
Exactly, yes.
Well, I think every post can be seen as narcissistic
Oh, yeah, for sure.
because every post is something that you're wanting the other to recognize about you, whatever
yeah.
it may be.
I post so I really don't ever post. If I post on Facebook, for instance, if it's not like me posting a photo or whatever, it's me posting something because I actually think what I have to say is funny, and probably most of the time it isn't. But if I don't think it's funny or interesting, I'm not going to post it, which is probably why I post like once every 6 months, as I think of something funny once every 6 months. I
Right.
don't know.
But in the back of your mind, sort of unconsciously, you want other people to think it's funny.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you wouldn't post it, right?
Oh yeah, exactly. Except for me, I've kind of come to just accept it's not even in the back of my mind. I just know it's in the front of my mind. Like something happens and I'm like, huh, that's kind of funny. You know what? I'm hilarious. I'm gonna post this on Facebook.
Maybe I should post it. Yeah.
I'm hilarious.
Yeah, I'm funny, so why not?
While you're talking about that, one of my favorite things to see is when people preface it by saying, I usually don't post stuff like this, but
Yes.
and then it's like a picture of them like 6 months ago and they've lost 5 pounds, and it's a side by side, and then they've got an explanation and then a Bible verse or something.
Yeah.
And then about telling you, you can always work harder for your dreams. And you've lost 5 pounds. Is it really?
Right.
Is
I
this a
really-
game changer?
I've actually had a thought that if I could get past my own, just like, I guess insecurities may be the word, that I've wanted to in the past post a picture of what I looked like when I first went to college compared to what I look like now.
Then
and
you
be
should
like,
just do it.
Before
Don't preface it.
and after, because I've put on so much weight since college. Just do the opposite, essentially. Like, yeah, I'm just being honest. This is what I look like. This is me now.
Yeah.
That would actually be the cool one. Like if you posted like a picture of yourself when you were in high school, like super skinny, and then now like, what do you guys think?
You can
Transformation
achieve
Tuesday.
your dreams.
Yes.
Yeah. Want to be happy? I'll give you a diet plan.
Yeah. My college diet plan
Yeah.
consisted of DiGiorno pizzas every single day.
Love DiGiorno.
Can't afford it anymore.
But yeah, I do think it's more revealing than your actual self. Maybe you're socially inhibited in real life, but social media gives you that platform to I don't know, to just hit that, you know, send, but not send, but post. Hit that post button, and then you want that verification or whatever it is to make you feel
Validation.
validation to make you feel like.
I also think it's been really revealing, especially the past year or two or whatever, in social media, just like, I don't know, revealing to me that we're not that different. Like, almost everyone, I mean, we have slight differences, but all in all, we're all humans with fairly similar experiences. And I've learned that because of, you know, relatable humor, as in all the social media humor where there's no punchline. It's just, it's funny because you experience that. Like,
Right.
you try and turn on the shower, but you can't quite get it in the right spot, and it's either too hot or too cold.
Yeah.
And we all laugh because, I do that. That's hilarious. But that's pretty much like everything on there is just, oh, I've done that too. But at some point, that's kind of like, have we all done this? Is like everything in my life that I think is like a unique, like, oh, wow, I'm so quirky. I do this. And it's like, oh, no, everybody else does exactly that. Maybe I'm not that unique.
I saw a picture of it was like a meme where this guy was standing outside. This is a black gentleman. He was standing outside the shower,
Right.
naked, and you know he was like waiting on the water to get warm or whatever, like that.
Yeah.
It's like a meme, like he's just standing there with his hands to his side, sort of giving the hand feel, see if it's see if it's good.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
which,
a good one.
which I think everybody does that.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember when I was a kid, I accidentally got in the shower. I did this several times. I don't know if it was like an unconscious thing, but I got in the shower with my socks on. I was completely naked. I got in the shower and I realized something doesn't feel right. And I had the white, those mid calves. That's like when I was young, when I had the mid calf socks. I apologize to anybody, or if you wear mid calf. Do you wear mid calf socks?
I don't wear socks at all.
Oh wow.
That gentleman over there, who
those
is on
size.
social media presently, is wearing mid-calf socks.
Yeah.
Bam.
Yeah, we have a live studio audience. They just haven't thought that anything.
It's actually
so far
sold
is
out.
Funny.
There's literally no seats left.
Literally.
Oh, maybe one. Well, that's for a latecomer, in case they're going to show up. But yeah, I think so. I think we're in agreement. Maybe it's more revealing.
Yeah.
As to who maybe you want to be, but not really are.
Yeah, that's fair.
But
also, I think the weird mixture of the fact that we know most of these people on social media, at least the ones that we have met in person, different if you follow celebrities, but knowing somebody and then seeing what they're like on social media, you see both what they want to be or want to come across as, but you also know what aspects of that aren't true.
But
And
that's
so it's kinda
also
like that weird.
But that's also true for a celebrity. The only reason you don't
yeah.
know that is because you don't know them
don't know them
personally.
personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a really weird position too. I don't follow any celebrities. I don't think I may follow one. I don't know, but I feel like that's a really weird place.
Well, you
for
follow
them to
me,
be
right?
in.
So.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I do. Okay, 2 celebrities. I
Local
follow.
celebrities.
Yeah, local. Yeah, I guess
Right,
so.
exactly. But that's just a weird place for them to be in because, like, to a degree, they can convince a lot of people that is their real self.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. Like,
Yeah.
that's, I don't know.
They can craft an identity because they get millions of followers, and obviously all of them are not their friends. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's weird.
Do you think? I was thinking about this the other day. If you could, and I think me and my friend talked about this the last time we talked. If you could wipe it to ground zero, like, shut the grid down, do you think that would be better? Like if you had the ability to hit the off button and say, no more. It's all monk mode. You're going back to the Stone Age.
I'm thinking probably not.
Or just not maybe completely monk mode, but back to the Motorola flip phone.
Ooh.
If you could go back to that.
I have a friend who just did that.
He went back to the Motorola flip phone?
Yeah, just went
He's
back
probably
to
got a
Motorola.
full battery as we speak, too.
Probably.
Oh yeah, he said texting on it is awful. Yeah, and we
I
were
believe that.
texting. When
Yeah,
he said
because
that.
he might not even have that predicted text. He's got that, on every number there's a letter, so you gotta
you have to press one key like 6 times.
Exactly. That's what he has.
Yeah.
Wow.
That sounds miserable.
That actually sounds good.
Oh no, it really
To me.
does. I've thought about
Yeah.
I've thought about that before. And if my job did not revolve so much around technology, I probably would at this point. See, I think it's one of those things that would benefit us in the long run to be able to shut all that off. But I feel like at the beginning it would be like chaos beyond anything we can imagine, because we're so reliant upon it for literally everything. I mean, for contacting people, for music. I mean, some people, that's how they get around Uber and Lyft and stuff, and then directions, all that stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I think initially people would struggle, but then I think, like, once we've gotten a taste of it, right? We sort of know. We know what it's like to have technology, and if we were to, like, wipe that out or wipe out what we got, I think it would be harder. In the case of, back then, like when we grew up in, the 90s or early 2000s, we had no idea, so we couldn't, like, not want it.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I could be totally wrong, but I feel like if the only way we could do it is if everybody didn't have it.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we can't just be the one person without it. That would especially be difficult.
Yeah.
It makes me think, Apple put out a video, I don't remember, a couple years ago, and the whole point of it was to support their developers who develop apps and essentially say that without them, the world would devolve into chaos. And so in the video, it showed like someone accidentally unplugged the App Store, and it was a silly premise, but really I felt like it was so real. And just like within a matter of minutes, there's like a black market where like people are standing there with signs saying they'll like your post on, or like they're holding up selfies. That's what it is.
Yeah.
They're standing just on the street corner with like selfies, like here's my most recent selfie, and like trying to hand it out to people. And it's really silly, but I can't help but feel like that's to a degree what would happen if social media and everything like that was gone.
Right.
Immediately is just this crazy chaos of like a void that people wouldn't know how to fill.
Yeah, and like we were talking about a while ago, I was just thinking about why you were saying that, is like, in some way, I do think it gives us more a true identity of ourselves. But then again, I think we only post certain things because we want the approval of someone else.
Yeah.
Or, I'm trying to think of a better way to say this. Like, it's not necessarily like we're having fun at this place, but we want people to think we're having fun.
Right, yeah.
If
somebody else believes it, maybe you can believe it too.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah. If somebody else believes it, then it sort of reinforces the fact that you think you had fun, or maybe you didn't. You ever been to some place? This is an example, or a thought that I've had before, where you necessarily didn't have, like, say you were with a group of people, and you went somewhere, and you kind of had fun. I mean, it was okay. But then you hear another person who was with you talk about the event to someone else, wherever it may be, and then they're talking about it like it was this grand thing, and it sort of reinstates to you, or subconsciously implants in you, that you had more fun than you initially thought you had.
Oh,
but you really didn't. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I'd say that's definitely accurate. I think that happens with social media a lot too, because then, I mean, that's pretty much what every post is taking something that is mundane but acting like it's the coolest thing ever.
Sort of making it that much bigger when it's like just a normal scene. And sometimes when I see posts, like, I think, how long did they take to take that picture? Especially like I'll see, like, I follow a lot of people who read books, or there's just like Bookstagram or whatever on Instagram. It's like a hashtag where you can see people what they're reading or whatever, and they'll have like the book, the coffee cup.
Yeah, I already knew where you were going with that.
You know what I'm saying? Like this perfect picture, and I'm like, how many like, I just wonder how many gigabytes they've used just for that one pic.
Well, that, and how much of the book did you actually read? Because you're having to spend some time taking a picture of it.
Well, that's another thing. Like, I see this one guy, and he's posting some good books, like some books that I would probably read, some that I think were interesting. But I'm like, how do you? There's a book that, hypothetically, let's just say it's like a 500-page book, And yeah, it's a book that would take me 6 months to read.
Yeah.
And like he's on a new one every day, and I'm like, there's no way.
There's no way you're reading this whole book in one
no
day.
way, bro.
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, I think that happens a lot. Man, something else that I don't know. Another reason that I've grown to not like social media is not even just like them themselves. I think they're just like Facebook, for instance.
Yeah.
Not that I hate Facebook itself, but I think they're one of the worst offenders of this whole, like, they're tracking every single aspect of my life. And I mean, that makes me sound like a crazy person to say that. But for real, like, I'll step away from Facebook a second and think of an instance where YouTube did it. I, for some reason, had heard about just like a 30-second clip from an obscure TV show that I've never watched. And I tried to mention that to somebody one time. I was like, oh, that makes me think of, I haven't even seen it, but I heard that it happened in this one show. And the next day on my suggested YouTube, like my homepage, the first video is that exact clip of that show. And I never watch clips based on that show or anything. It's like, how did you end up here? Like, why are you on my page? You know, it's like,
well, that's the creepy
happens
thing.
all the time.
Yeah, like I do know. I've studied a little bit of social media marketing and stuff like that. They actually have algorithms to where, like, if you just visit a website, okay, and then you go, let's say, maybe it's something you're interested in, maybe it's something you're not, maybe it's some sort of thing you thought about buying, maybe not. Let's just say you visit that website. That website can track, based on you being on the homepage, it then, if they have that certain algorithm set up or whatever it is, if you go on to Amazon, it'll have like suggested things for you, and that'll be it. That's creepy to me,
Yeah.
dude.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've experienced that a lot, like where
What if someday, go ahead.
just like I'll get on Amazon and I'll look at something, and my Amazon's not linked to my Facebook. That's the weird part, is I don't have those two apps linked up to any degree.
Yeah, I don't think I do.
But I'll see those ads come up on Facebook of, oh, you should buy this from Amazon, and it's what I've looked at. It's just like it's 6 pictures, and it's basically my search history on Amazon. It's just everything I've looked at, and I'm like, that's a little bit weird, a little bit unsettling.
But then it's like it sort of makes you, like, the more you see it, I mean, they're onto something as far as like our own human nature. Like, the more you see something, the more it makes you want to buy it.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, it's brilliant the way they're doing it. It's just like sometimes I wish there was more subtlety to it, because then I wouldn't feel as creeped out about it, I guess, because, like, you know, sometimes if I search something on Facebook and then like Facebook or Instagram even try and advertise it to me, that's whatever. I mean, they're connected, you know, but if I'm not looking at stuff on the internet, if I'm just like sitting there and my phone is as close to me as it is right now, and I say something and then I hear about it on Facebook later, that's where I get creeped out, because I'm like, okay, now is this a coincidence, or are they listening? Like, I don't know. I feel so crazy thinking about it, but it's just, it happens so often, and I'm like, I already really don't believe in coincidences that much anyway, but especially not now.
Yeah.
Like, that's weird.
Do you have like an Alexa or anything like that?
I do. Yes, I have a Google Home. So that's probably where it comes from, honestly.
If you like fart too loud, you may get like some sort of ad about
Gas X or something. Yeah, no, probably. I saw a post one time that said something about, like, you know, years ago, parents didn't want you around this technology or that technology, because it's like, oh no, the government's gonna bug our houses, and then now it's like, oh hey, you know, device that specifically bugged my house, can you give me a recipe? I mean, that's the world we live in now with Alexa and Google everywhere. But
it's the Orwellian, what is it, the big other, the thought police.
Yeah,
or something like that.
I mean, that's the thing is, though, when we get to that, we just accept that, you know, oh yeah, maybe it is a little creepy and an invasion of privacy, but you know what? I'm going to give them my money, because I would rather have the simplicity to do it without picking up my phone.
Well, and I think how technology moves along, it slowly sort of sedates us into that. Like, if you were to just do that overnight, I don't think we would be as accepting. But the fact that it just sort of, okay, maybe it's a little ad here and there, maybe it's this here and there, and then finally you're, you know, 30 years from now you got a chip in your arm that tell like
Yeah.
something weird, or implanted in your brain to where I don't know, dude.
I saw somebody make an Amazon like parody video, and I love Amazon. It's one of my favorite places to buy anything, but I still had to admit how accurate this was. Like, the guy starts out, he like orders it, and he gets like instant shipping, and he's like, "What, instant shipping? I just ordered this." But as the video progresses, like the guy shows up in his house and is just like, "Here's bananas." He's like, I didn't even know I needed bananas." It's like, "Yep, but we know you needed them."
Whoa.
And it's just like, it's all as a joke, but I mean, that's
And then that reinforces the idea that he's probably right. I've only got one banana
did.
left.
Yeah.
So,
So, I mean, I think
I
that's
probably did
the
need it.
direction it's progressing is, I mean, they want to tell us what we want or what we need, not necessarily for nefarious purposes, but at least because they want to sell us stuff.
Well, I think in some respects, like, technology is maybe taking the place of people who don't believe in God. And what I mean by that is, like, it's like before you thought, okay, God makes me feel guilty. It's like this, I don't know where God's at. I can't see him, but he makes me feel convicted or guilty for whatever reason. And I think technology is slowly becoming an actual thing, if that makes sense, to where it's replacing the non-entity into an actual physical thing that makes you feel that's always looking over you. It's always watching over you. You can't escape it. And that's like what you're talking about thinking about the banana or whatever it is. Like, I just feel like slowly we're gonna become more and more accepting until, I mean, who knows 30 years down the road what we'll accept. I mean,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, the world's progressing so fast and in such strange ways that I'm not looking forward to having a child one day and having to try and explain the world to them, because, I mean, to some degree that's apparently your job as a parent. I mean, they'll figure it out on their own, but like, trying to explain the world in the right ways, especially if you have a set of beliefs that the world doesn't agree with. And so then how am I going to be able to explain that to my kids in the future? I mean, I feel like it'd be hard enough explaining it to a kid now about the world, but where's it going to be?
I was talking about this the other day, like my 1.5-year-old son, sometimes we give him the phone, to put in the back seat of the vehicle, that way he doesn't, cry or whatever. And if we're going a long trip, maybe it's 30 minutes away or whatever, and then we give him a video to watch. And then when he's done, like when we park or whatever, he hits the home button because he knows that exits out of the screen. Like,
wow.
And he's 1.5.
Yeah.
It's
I mean,
like,
that's kids nowadays. They know how to use it better than their parents sometimes, and that's super weird.
well, because, and this is another thing I was talking about to my buddy the other day, it's because I think they grow up with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It becomes, their brains are more malleable to that.
Yeah.
They
makes sense.
I don't know if that there's not as much information in there,
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that's that gives me a bit of I don't know, maybe fear, anxiety, whatever, about now and of course in the future, because I'm in a creative medium, and so
right.
I had I do videos, and I've been doing them for like 10 years, and it took me about 4 or 5 to really learn what I was doing at all to actually make something decent in the slightest. But man, kids do that, and like they start at like 3 or 4, and they know how to make a video and how to edit a video, and so all of a sudden I'm in this weird medium that, like, special effects wise and all this stuff, there are like 11-year-old kids that are so much better than I am at that, and I'm like, wow. Like, I mean, it sounds a little paranoid, but like, oh yeah, they could probably swoop in and steal my job once they turn old enough, because I'll be old and outdated by then.
Or they know how to hack or something.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even have the slightest clue how to hack.
Yeah, me neither.
No idea how to hack.
Like, I've had
And they're
to
like, oh
help
yeah,
us.
Control X59 and your blah blah blah.
Yeah, I don't
What?
understand that at all. Or coding, like I've had
No
to.
idea how to code.
I was able to kind of like design part of our app, but I can't code one myself. But kids know how to do that now. It's so weird.
How did you get into the, what you're doing?
it was kind
I
of
never
weird.
asked you that. I never know how you got into it.
Let's think. I think I was like 12 maybe. And I had one of my friends came over. I don't remember how much older than me he is, but he came over to kind of hang out with me, try and get me involved in the youth group at church.
Right.
So we were just hanging out one day, and he started showing me some YouTube videos. I don't know if you ever watched Balloon Shop back in the day.
I've watched so many YouTube videos. I've got so much YouTube in my brain, I can't remember everything. I'm sure I have seen it.
They were like one of the original people on YouTube that made it big.
2005.
Oh yeah, like very beginning of YouTube. Like one of them, Olin Rogers, it has become pretty famous. He's well known on YouTube. He has a show on CBS now, or on TBS. But they all started a long time ago, and so like I saw their silly videos, and I was like, wow, that's fun or whatever. And the guy was like, oh yeah, and it's super easy.
I
So
can do that.
he showed me that I had a program called Movie Maker on my
Oh,
computer.
yeah.
And so
Is that Windows or is that?
yeah, Windows Movie Maker.
Straight up.
The worst video editing software in the universe, but it's what I had. And so he showed me how, he went outside, recorded a video, put it in there, and was able to put a filter on it and make it like speed up or slow down. And I was like, oh my goodness, I have to start doing this. And so I started trying to tell stories. But what I would do is, like I said, it took me about 4 years before I knew how to do anything decent. By that I mean, it took me that long to learn how to cut a clip or how to do literally anything except dragging and dropping. So what I would do is try and like start the camera exactly before the line started and stop it right after the line.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know how to trim a clip. And so I would literally just like start and stop the camera when I needed to and drag it in. That made some real jumpy stuff. Either there was an awkward pause or the line got cut off. It was horrible.
Because you couldn't do it perfect. There's no way to do it perfect.
And so I just kept doing that for years until finally I discovered iMovie, learned on iMovie. Then I moved to Final Cut Pro, and now I, to a degree, actually know what I'm doing. But it took me a long time.
No, I really like all your stuff. I mean, all your videos and stuff. I mean, there's definitely a well, obviously there's a need for that, but it's a skill. It's a skill I think you have to like learn. You can't just pick up and do.
Yeah, I think really the way I learned it was the fact that
Just
for
hours
whatever
and hours.
reason, I didn't give up whenever I was horrible at it. I didn't give up for like 5 years until I learned how to trim a clip, and then at that point I just started actually learning stuff. I went to school for it, but I didn't learn anything there because I didn't pay attention. I ended up having to teach myself.
Well, that's the best way
since
to
I
do
didn't.
it. I think.
It is. It definitely is. I just also could have learned in school if
Could
I
have learned a little bit more.
paid attention, but
Right. I mean, yeah, who cares about that?
yeah, exactly.
I first started doing, like I'm not a technologically savvy guy, but I mean I'm like I don't know what I'm a layman, but I'm not like I don't know what the word would be. I'm not an expert, but
Yeah.
I can handle it,
Yeah.
I can brush my teeth, I'm
Right.
not gonna get whatever.
Yeah.
And when I first got into videos was Instagram, and beyond that, that was pretty much it. But they were doing, I don't know if you remember when they offered like 15-second clips.
Yes, exactly.
And then Vine did 7
Yeah.
seconds, and I was like, man, I can't. 7 seconds is not enough. I think
yeah.
they're pretty much dead though.
I mean, Vine shut down.
They shut down?
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know
a while ago. It's one of those weird things where like 7 seconds sounds like way too short of a time, but people did it. I mean, they
People
made
did funny stuff,
some really
yeah.
funny stuff on there. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's a skill that I haven't learned, is shortening my content enough. But I mean, that is one thing I've tried to focus on, because Instagram has the 1 minute now.
Yeah.
So like whenever we have like the youth group Christmas party at church, we make those little Christmas advertisements, and we try and keep it at like 45 seconds or so,
Right.
and just try and essentially tell a joke in that amount of time.
Well, I think the attention span to where a person actually watches the video, I forget how long it is, but I know if you post, as of right now, if you post a clip on Facebook, if it's like 10 or 15 seconds, it'll just replay it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you post a minute, they actually got to click on it to watch it. I don't know.
Gotcha.
So I don't know if that has to do with our attention span or what it is.
Oh, it very well could be. I remember when Vine was big, I ended up liking it, but at first I was like, this is going to kill our attention span. If our attention spans aren't already horrible, this is what we're going to come to expect is, a joke has to be told in this
Right.
few second span or it's not worth paying attention to. Although, I mean, YouTube has been doing a lot of weird stuff with their algorithm that is apparently really stupid and bad
Yeah.
for creators. But one thing that they are doing that might help our attention span is to actually make any money on YouTube, you have to like hit the 10-minute mark. Like that's kind of a joke is that popular YouTubers know their video has to be 10 minutes and 1 second
Really?
or longer to be able to get
To be-
enough ad revenue from them.
Really?
Which is really weird. It's basically because YouTube wants you to watch them instead of television. So
Oh.
like the longer
It's already
they can
going
keep you
there. I don't
on
know
there.
why they even worry about that.
Oh, I don't know either. But
Like I think, and this is a weird prediction, but I think, and maybe not weird, but maybe a bit premature. I think 20 years from now, there won't be any cable
Oh.
TV.
it may even be sooner than that. I mean,
Maybe
for
sooner than
one,
that.
like Netflix. Well, no, Netflix doesn't do it. They're just a streaming service. But Hulu has an option where you can get essentially cable
Oh,
through them. It's like $40 a month, which is cheaper than cable anyway.
cheaper than cable.
And that's what my family's done for a while, and they love it. Replace cable with that. I mean, YouTube is doing it too. They don't offer it here.
YouTube
but
Red or something like that. No, that's a
uh,
different one. That's,
It's even different than that. They have YouTube Red, but then now they have YouTube TV, and that's all it is they're trying to give you all these channels that typically are on cable without you actually having to pay for cable.
I don't know of anybody that watches like mainstream news like Fox. Besides, like once my grandpa's generation dies, that's it.
Yeah.
There's no more viewers. I mean,
Yeah.
they better grab that. It's a cash grab, dude.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's the way it's going. It's very strange, like how quick that has happened. Like just the past few years, it's like, oh, yeah, we don't really need this anymore. We can just stream everything. That's easier.
Do you think that? Do you think that social media has shortened our attention span?
I
Or
think
do
it
you think
has.
that's just how, like, we just because we never had access to it, we didn't know that,
I think to a degree, it has,
It's
or at
both.
least it can. I mean, that's really the purpose of it is to try and have
lock you in First.
either jokes or news or information in
as quickly as possible.
in like a 1 minute segment instead of
Right.
like a half hour segment. So I think to a degree it does affect us like that. But it may not be as bad as it feels.
Depends
it could
on the
just be,
person, maybe.
yeah, it could just be that we, want someone to be mad at, and it makes sense to be mad at social media about it.
Right. Yeah. Do you think, like, I've noticed, or I think people have a harder time watching movies all the way through without getting bored.
Yeah. Oh,
I could
think,
be wrong, but I'm not like that. Like,
I'm
I
not
like to
either.
watch a movie.
I think people do that, and that is very strange to me. Because I've actually grown in my appreciation for movies since
Yeah.
the internet, because
the whole crafting of a
all of
film.
a sudden, yeah, I've learned what it takes to actually make a
Yeah.
good one, and that's how I've gotten better is like watching people like, I mean, I feel like this is kind of cliche to say, since a lot of film buffs probably think this, but like Edgar Wright, for instance, is one of my favorite directors.
Mhm.
Baby Driver,
Yeah,
great
it's a good
movie.
movie.
But he's done that, and then he did like Shaun of the Dead.
He did Shaun of the Dead. I didn't know that.
Yep. Hot Fuzz,
Yeah.
The World's End, and Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Those are like his main ones that he did.
He is a good director.
Yeah, he's
Wow.
great. He's after watching him, I've been able to see how framing, pacing, and editing all really go into like making a film as good as it can be. And so I don't want to just be a copycat of different aspects of directors, but I mean that's how I've learned is by trying to
Right.
mimic things that people do. And so we did a music video competition at the church with the youth group, and one of the groups did Eye of the Tiger. And so while we were filming it, I was like, you know what? Let's bring some Edgar Wright into this right now. So I tried to do a match cut where the setting and everything changes, but the person's in the same perspective. And so
Oh, yeah,
we
yeah,
had
yeah.
basically it was going from a scene of this guy getting beat up to him training so that he could go fight the guy again.
And he is still moving,
So
but
he-
the setting is changing.
Sort of. I really wish we could have done that, like an actual motion of it, but we didn't have access to anything other than a camera and an actor, and so I had to kind of improvise. So what we did was we had him get punched and knocked out, and then it goes sort of into a slow-mo style, like he's falling,
Right.
but the camera stays in the same position. So it looks like everything is falling behind him, which we had to do it practically. So literally we had to wrap like a bungee cord around this guy's waist and have like 3 guys slowly lift him down. It was not the easiest way to do it, but it worked.
So is the bungee cord still in the shot?
No, we
edited
framed
it?
it just just his head and shoulders,
Oh,
and it was
okay.
just around his waist. But so we have him like going down, and he's about to hit the ground. But right when he hits the ground on a beat in the song,
Oh,
and the ground transforms into the like his weight bench, I guess. So he
Nice
as he
little
hits the
touch.
ground, he's on the bench, and so like we had him make the same expression,
Yeah.
be roughly framed the same, so that once it's smacked, all that changes, and you're like, what happens? And so he turns over, and then you see, oh,
Yeah.
we're in a different setting. That was not easy to do, and even some people don't notice it at first, but like just little things like that add to it a lot. And then another one Edgar Wright does is editing to the beat. Like if you watch
Baby Driver.
Baby Driver,
Yeah.
like
He's walking. And
when he walks, when they
that's super cool.
shut the car door. My favorite one is to the song Egyptian Reggae. It was the 3rd song in the movie. He comes in and he's like taking the coffee out and they're counting the money, and it's like
Yeah,
hitting to
yeah,
the
yeah,
beat of all
yeah.
that. I don't know, just those little things make it more entertaining
That's
to
cool.
me.
Yeah, I like the. There's a movie I watched here the other day. I like a lot of weird stuff. Like there was a movie. I don't know if you like Joaquin Phoenix, the actor. Joaquin Phoenix. He played in. He's played in a lot of stuff. I'm trying
I
to
don't
think of the main. Well, I mean, he was in Gladiator. The,
Okay,
the
yeah.
thumbs down guy.
I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And he was in Signs with Mel Gibson. He's got a scar on his like lip.
I might know who you're talking
You know what
about.
I'm talking about.
I'd know if I saw him.
There was a movie called You Were Never Really Here, I think is what it was called. And it had like songs in it and scenes in it to where you wouldn't think they would go together.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So like it was like this horrific, brutal scene of him like beating up somebody with that. This song was like upbeat and sort of weird.
Yeah.
I like the mismatch
Yeah.
of certain genres that you wouldn't think go together, but somehow, I don't know, they work. Or I sort of like, which I don't really see many actors doing or directors doing like an Alfred Hitchcock, to where I don't know if you've seen very many Alfred Hitchcock movies, but like
Not a lot of them.
he'll shoot a scene from an angle like you would never think.
Yeah.
Like on the floor. I'm thinking of the movie. There's a movie called Rope he did, and that they essentially killed a person and they put him in a box, and then they had a party, and the whole time they were at the party, the guy who they killed was in the box,
Okay.
and they were serving dinner off this box.
Oh.
It's a Hitchcock movie. It's good. You need to watch it. Rope.
Yeah.
But he shot an angle as if like it showed them walking away, and the camera stayed on the ground where the box was. So it was as if the guy who was dead was looking
Yeah.
at the. I don't know. It was just a really.
Yeah.
I like those weird angles. Not too weird to where it's like every 2 seconds, but
Yeah, just like the occasional thing that actually serves the
Yeah.
story's purpose.
some
It makes me think
makes
of
you realize, you know.
the art that goes into that,
Yeah.
the focus. Like, have you seen it's a recent movie, Game Night?
Yeah,
Came
I've
out.
seen that.
That's not one I went into
With Jason Bateman?
expecting. Yeah,
Yeah,
I didn't expect that one to be an artistic film by any means.
it's pretty good though.
But it really is. One of my favorite parts from a filmmaking perspective is that all their what do you call them? Just landscape shots, I guess, aerial shots.
Yeah.
They film it not as if it's actually from a drone, because if you get a drone up or just like a camera and you're trying to get a landscape shot,
Mm-hmm.
typically what you do is you have just an infinite depth of field. Everything's in focus.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't do that. They had a very, very narrow focus range in there. And the reason they do that is because
But they were still aerial.
Yeah, it was still an aerial shot, just with a small focus. And so instead of it looking like there's a drone in the sky, it looks like you have this tiny little model of the world, and you're zooming in on it. Because if you have your camera and you zoom in on a really small object, like if you were to zoom in on a house on a Monopoly board, for instance, you would get it in focus, and everything else would be extremely blurry because just the compression of space through the lens and all that stuff. But they like did that on purpose. I don't even know how they did it, but they did that so that the whole thing is about them basically being pawns in somebody else's like game, essentially. And so that's what they did with all those, is all these shots have such a compressed depth of field so that they look like they're on a game board. Like it's a big camera looking in on these little pieces.
Like they're parts of the game.
Yeah, and that goes like unnoticed typically, but the thing is I saw that movie like 3 times in theaters, and so finally it clicked with me. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I only started paying attention to that because the first time I watched it, and they're in that scene where they're throwing the egg back and forth or whatever, trying to keep this
they're running
thing away from, I don't know, wherever they are.
Bad guys.
Yeah, essentially. I was like, oh, kind of like Keep Away or like an egg toss. Like those are games. Did they do that on purpose? Like this is game night, and so the writers made them play a whole bunch of games. So then I had to watch it again and try and see all the little like, oh, it's kind of like they're playing Clue.
Little nuances.
Oh, it's kind of like they're playing whatever game. It's kind of like they had to play charades at one point to, whatever. And I was like, okay, I appreciate that kind of stuff in films.
Right. Yeah.
It keeps me interested for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I feel like in today's, sort of society, there is this nostalgia to go back to the old style filmmaking, though.
Oh,
or
yeah.
At least I've read, from what I've read, like I think Christopher Nolan still uses like the 35 millimeter.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Instead of shooting digital, shoot on
film.
film.
Shoot on film. Which I mean, I guess it's a whole different. I'm not an expert. I guess it's a whole different like feel or a whole different look.
It does. It gives a different look. It's really interesting because, like, with digital, you have to shoot in higher quality to get higher quality, if that makes sense.
But there's more, right?
Yeah, because like with film, there's no differences in quality. It's just, it is what it is, if that makes sense. So like, you don't shoot in like 8K film. It's just film is, if you do it right, if you light it right, it's going to be clear. It's going to look right. So I think that's probably a draw for people. But really, I think it's because that's what film was. And so people who've been doing it for a long time, I mean, there's really that nostalgia and that, I don't know, maybe even a little bit of like, I don't know if I'm really ready to move forward with it. But it also does, to a degree, just change the way things look. I mean, lights, and lighting and just, I don't know, a lot of those things, it's very subtle, but do have differences between digital and
I would
physical.
like to shoot something on like a VHS look, like that grainy look.
Yeah.
I wish they'd do a movie like that.
That would be nice. I feel like...
Maybe they have. I don't know.
What is it? There's a movie coming out soon. I think it's called Mid-90s.
Oh.
It's an A24, A24, I don't know how you say it.
Production.
But they, they're big on doing the weird, like, artsy movies and stuff.
I think so, yeah.
And so I don't know. I can't remember if that whole one's being shot like that. But from the trailer, it looked like it was. It kind of had that older aspect ratio. And I don't know if they filmed it on VHS, but like it had that kind of grainy look to it and stuff. Almost like, it takes place in the 90s. So why not make it look like we shot it in the 90s as well?
Yeah.
I do appreciate that. Because, I mean, and then you have things like Stranger Things. It looks very, very good from a filmmaking perspective. But it also... to a degree, it looks like, you have super high-resolution cameras back in the 80s instead of looking like you have an 80s camera in the 80s, if that makes any sense. So it's sort
of, it's a blending of the different decades or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is very postmodern or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, dude, we're 55 minutes in. Do you think, this is one of the main things I wanted to ask, you think... overall, technology makes us happier or the same, or you think maybe it makes us appreciate things less, or all the above?
I may have to go with all the above. It's one of those weird things like
You can't stop
for sure you can't stop it. But also I'm a tech guru essentially. Like, I mean, we're a few weeks away from Apple's next event where they're going to announce the new iPhone. And
iPhone 28.
I'm a big nerd about that. Like, that's almost like, you know, and I mean, it is an event for me. Like, I schedule out my lunch time so that I can go there into that
Yeah, you
event.
can
And I can
see
just
it.
watch it all happen.
See what happens.
And so, like, I like new advances in technology, and even though I tend to lean towards Apple, really anyone that comes out with anything new or unique, I'm like, wow, that's awesome, and it excites me.
Yeah. It's
So
also
I
kinda
guess you could
frightening,
say,
though. It's also-
oh yeah, I guess you could say to a degree that makes me happy, but at the same time,
What if they cloned Tim Cook or something? You know, like
that'd
brought
be
out a fake Tim Cook, and then they're like,
intense.
oh,
oh,
not
no.
even the real Tim Cook.
Yeah, no,
It's on the iPhone right here, ladies and gentlemen.
I would not be that surprised, honestly. Probably not too far from that. But I don't know, because see, that makes me happy. But then I go into a place like, I mean, I went to Juarez, and
Mexico
yes, to Mexico. We
Mexico.
built a house.
For
So I went
yourself,
on-
a little getaway spot.
No, not for ourselves. No, for family in need. You know, decided to be a little selfless with it, I guess. But no, I got to go with the youth group down there while they built the house, and I helped build it and stuff. And so I'm there in the moment, and that's pretty amazing, you know, because without the ability to get on my phone, I was all of a sudden. I was there. I was focusing on what was happening, and that was
You were present.
I was present in this amazing situation. And so that is then like, well, technology's a bit of a distraction because I did have to have my camera. I was there to document it. And so sometimes I couldn't be in the moment because I was filming the moment. But then there's the opposite effect where I end up making this video that's meant to show everyone who couldn't be there what
Yeah.
it was like to be in the moment. And so I don't
Yeah.
know. It's a real weird balance where, like, you know,
You're the
maybe
mediator.
yes, maybe it keeps me out of the moment sometimes, but then what if I can bring other people into the moment through it? So I don't know.
Well, and the weird thing is, like, when let's just say, you said you filmed that, and you probably weren't fully present, but you were filming it, and then when you look back on it, you probably saw things you didn't even consciously realize you
Yeah.
saw,
Oh yeah,
which is sort of weird.
it is, especially because, like, when you're editing, you have to look at that footage over and
Yeah.
over again, especially whenever you're editing around people. Like I was editing while we were in Juarez, so everybody wanted to see the video every day, even if
Yeah,
I'd only
yeah.
added a few seconds. So I rewatched that thing countless times.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get to see, you know,
thing-
I'm only halfway present in the moment at the time, but then I get to relive the moment again and again and again
Right.
every time I watch it. And so it's a really weird balance that I can't tell if it's better or not. I don't know.
That's sort of a weird dichotomy,
Yeah.
to think that you're filming it and you're fully present, your body is fully present, but your mind is focused on the shots and all this other stuff. And then you go back and look to see the stuff you missed, and then it's like, I don't know, just makes you wonder how present you are in everyday life and the things you do miss. And if like if there was like a recorder on your head,
Yeah, like, what
every
else would I
day,
pay
what else
attention
would
to?
you see? If you could re-record your day every day.
Yeah. I don't know. It's a really weird thing to actually be able to say definitely whether it's better or worse, because I don't know if I can answer that. I don't know.
I think my takeaway, if there is a takeaway, would be it's like I feel like not necessarily we're heading to a cliff, but we're heading to a point to where there's gonna be a lot of like moral issues come up, whether it be, like we were talking about with the Alexa, like hearing it always listening to us, but then there's another side of me who's like, there is no stopping it. It's like we're heading toward the cliff. We don't know when we're gonna fly off the cliff, but there's not like, we just kind of have to enjoy the ride, I guess, because
Yeah,
there's not
like,
really.
I mean, yeah,
Unless you were
technology
to-
may be our downfall one day, but can we stop it? Probably not. So
Probably
maybe we
not.
should enjoy the benefits while we can.
Maybe should.
I don't know, man. That
And,
is weird.
Maybe we should just enjoy the ride while it's. I don't know. Enjoy the ride before we hit the cliff, because we can't see the cliff anyway. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, man, I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
That maybe we can do it again in the future.
Yeah, I think that'd be fun. Maybe John can stay next time.
Yeah.
I feel like that was kind of an awkward thing we didn't mention was that John left halfway through there.
Yeah.
And so he just all of a sudden wasn't talking anymore.
Our third amigo.
It's just me.
We became 2 amigos. We went from 3 to 2. And then I had people, for those of you who know, I own a tuxedo shop, so we had people come in and had to stop it and
then start it again.
But we made it.
Yeah,
So.
I feel like I just needed to say that so people didn't think I was hogging the microphone from
Yeah.
John the whole time. No, you can't talk anymore, John.
Yeah,
This is all
if he
me.
would have came in and said, all right, guys, well, I appreciate it too. Appreciate you guys.
Oh, goodness.
All right, brother. Later.